In this video, I'll be sharing how I get the cheapest prices on car insurance. So if you're tired of overpaying for car insurance and you want to get lower prices, watch this video until the very end. If you're anything like me, you hate wasting money and you hate overspending for things that you do not need to overspend for. Personally, I hate paying for car insurance. It is one of those things that I wish I didn't have to pay in the first place. If I had an option, I probably wouldn't pay at all. But in my state, it is mandatory. You have to have car insurance in order to drive your vehicle. You can get liability or full coverage, but you have to have some type of coverage in order to register your vehicle, in order to renew your tags, and in order to drive on the streets. I'm guessing the majority of the states have pretty much the exact same laws, so that is why you're watching this video, in order to get cheap car insurance. So let's quickly jump into it and let me share you some personal tips that I take advantage of in order to get the lowest prices. So I'm not going to beat around the bush. Let's jump straight into it with tip number 1, and that is to shop around. You heard me right. You gotta shop around for your insurance. I know a lot of people that have been with the same company for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and every single time they renew their policy, they pay a higher price. Personally, every time my policy renews and it is higher than what it was before, I'm shopping around. I'm not going to be overpaying when I don't have to. So I highly recommend you guys shop around like all the time. Every few months, shop around for a different policy, shop around for a different rate. Also, I highly recommend you guys use a car insurance comparison tool. I have linked my favorite one in the description box below, but with this tool, all you got to do is enter in your information one time and it will compare multiple companies, multiple coverages, and give you multiple price offers, which is pretty good. Then you can compare multiple companies all at once and you can pick the cheapest one. But like I said, shopping around is key. If you're stuck with the same company and every 3 months, every 6 months, they're raising your prices and you're not doing nothing about it but continuing to pay, they're going to be raising them every single time. You got to put a stop to it. You got to shop around, switch companies. I have been switching companies for the last like 6-7 years. Literally every 3 to 6 months, I'm switching. I do not care about loyalty when it comes to car insurance companies one bit. The only thing that I care about is the coverage and the price. If you cannot give me the coverage that I want, the price that I want, I'm going elsewhere. I'm tired of being loyal to these insurance companies. All right, so tip number 1 out the way. Let's jump into tip number 2, and that is to play around with different combinations. What do I mean by this? You gotta play around with the vehicles that you are covering and different policies in order to get the best deal, especially if you have multiple vehicles. Personally, I've had multiple companies give me decent coverage for 2 vehicles, and then when I add a third one, it is cheaper to insure 3 vehicles than it is 2 vehicles. So definitely play around with those numbers. Obviously, this is not going to be correct for every single person watching, but it pays to play around. For example, let's say you get car insurance for your vehicle and it is $200 a month, and you do not want to pay $200 a month. A lot of times, if you add renter's insurance, let's say you rent a house or an apartment and you want coverage, if you add that to your car insurance policy, sometimes it becomes way cheaper to insure your vehicle and your apartment than it is to simply insure your vehicle. So instead of paying $200, now you can pay $150 to have both pieces of property insured. Also, this also works if you have multiple vehicles, if you want to include homeowners, renters, a motorcycle, a boat. Play around with those numbers. I've had 4 or 5 vehicles at a time, and sometimes on one policy I have 3 and the other 2 are completely with different companies simply because they're giving me a lower price. So make sure to play around with all the combinations. If you have multiple vehicles, all that stuff, play around, get quotes from literally every company that you can imagine and see how much money you can save. Tip number 3 is your coverage option. This is another thing that you can play around with in order to lower your price. And in my opinion, this is probably one of the best ways to get the cheapest possible price. In my state, it is only required to have the state minimum, which is liability coverage. So you do not have to pay for full coverage if you don't have to. Also, if I'm driving a vehicle vehicle that is worth $5,000 or less, for example, best believe I'm not getting full coverage on it. I'm not going to be spending $300-400 a month to get full coverage when the vehicle is worth a couple $1,000s. So that is definitely out the window. I'm definitely getting the lowest amount of coverage that I can get on those older vehicles. Obviously, if you bought your vehicle on credit, chances are you need to have full coverage, and that is where they can trap you and charge you an arm and a leg for your insurance. Sometimes your insurance will be as high as your car monthly payment. So definitely play around with the coverage. Also, make sure to play around with the deductible. If your deductible is low, you can increase your deductible and you can automatically see the difference that it will make in price. Everything when it comes to car insurance is either negotiable, is either adjustable to fit the price that you want. So you can play around with the coverage options that you're getting, with your deductible, with the vehicles that you have insured. You can play around with all those numbers in order to get the lowest price. But a lot of people simply do not care. They simply go, they put in their car vehicle, their zip code, their address, and they get a quote. They accept it automatically without checking any of that important information that could potentially be saving you. So those are 3 quick tips that I take advantage of every single time in order to get the lowest price on car insurance. Obviously, guys, every situation is different, but it does not hurt to try these tips out. It does not hurt to learn more about car insurance and learn more on how to get the cheapest price possible. So that concludes this quick video. Let me know in the comment section below, what other things are you doing in order to get the lowest price? Drop those tips in the comments, smash the like button, subscribe. See you in the next video. Peace out.